When I retired from hockey, I struggled with the loss of identity. I didn't have a lot of the tools to go through these types of transitions. As a leader, I always hired athletes and veterans. The resume to me is the stupidest thing in the world. You're taking a human being and you're basically simplifying them down to a Microsoft Word document. And I don't think that's the right way to evaluate humans, especially humans in uniform.
Today on the show with Disruptors, we've got JR Butler, the founder and CEO of Shift Group. It's a training and recruiting platform for elite athletes and veterans to help translate their skills into high-impact business careers. As a former high-level hockey player turned sales executive, he's thrown out the dusty old resume for a video-first, two-sided hiring model that's used by over 500 companies. His mission is to help folks leaving the uniform have a clear playbook, modern tools, and a fair shot at winning in the civilian world. So without further ado, my conversation with JR Butler. JR, welcome to the Point of Impact. Glad to have you here.
Aaron, thank you for having me.
Well, I was catching up on some of your episodes. I'm glad we connected because what you're doing with Shift is exactly who I'm talking to. You serve the same people that I serve. It is people that are going through a transition from athlete and or service member into another phase, another aspect of life. First, what drove you in that direction? What got you started with Shift?
Honestly, Aaron, it was my own transition out of uniform. For me, the uniform was a hockey uniform. But when I retired from hockey, I really struggled. I struggled with the loss of identity. I struggled with the loss of purpose. I struggled with the loss of the team, the loss of the playbook of what it means to be successful and what it takes to be successful. And unfortunately, I didn't have a lot of the tools that you need to go through these types of transitions. And I ended up relying a lot on substances to get through it, drugs, alcohol. And it wasn't until I, was fortunate enough, which is hope is not a strategy. And I just got really lucky, met some great mentors who guided me through the process in a way that ended up, transparently, it saved my life. I ended up having a lot of success once I did figure out that next phase. Mm-hmm. And I was in a position to hire people, and I wanted to hire people like me that came from a world where resiliency and trainability and a growth mindset and a team first attitude were table stakes, which, as you know, is a requirement if you're going to play sports at a high level and if you're going to serve in the military. So I, as a leader at other organizations, I always hired athletes and veterans. And I had a ton of success. I was part of a company build here in Boston from a Series A to a $2 billion acquisition. And those two experiences, both my transition as well as my success in hiring this type of profile, is kind of how Shift Group was born. And the other piece of that, kind of second transition when I was an executive, the resume to me is the stupidest thing in the world, because you're taking a human being and you're basically simplifying them down to a Microsoft Word document. And the only way they get through your process is if they have the right bullets and the right structure and format. And I don't think that's the right way to evaluate humans, especially humans who spend a long time in uniform. So that's the other piece of our business is we want to kill the resume. We want to make sure that when somebody goes to hire someone, they can really get to know them before. And that's what they're measuring and vetting versus, the bullet points. So that's those kind of experiences, Aaron, are what drove us to where we are today.
The secret to the perfect resume is just slightly heavier paper stock, salmon color, not
salmon,
not white, salmon, and scented the paper, a little essential oil on that, and then it doesn't even matter what's printed on it. It doesn't. You're getting hired.
You got to pick the right scent though for the person. That's the guessing game, right?
Coming from a guy that's been unemployed technically, or at least unemployed for the last 15 years, and probably unemployable for longer than that. So, what's the answer? Traditional resumes are stupid.
Yep.
I know you've talked about a video first candidate profile. What's that look like?
So there's two core videos that every candidate starts with. The first is their story, right? And it's a 2-minute cap. And before they do it, we run them through a reflection exercise, which is like a literal self-discovery, answering questions like, what was your biggest challenge? What was your biggest accomplishment? What are your core values? Why, like 3 core values? Why are those your core values? How have you proven them? What are your priorities? What would somebody that knows you well say about you in 2 sentences? So we do these exercises to kind of pull that out of people, to do that reflection on their past. And mainly it's people that are coming right out of uniform. And that's a really powerful exercise. The goal is for them to kind of reframe their story where they're the hero instead of the victim. And then what we do is we actually we have like a structured my story outline that we then kind of give to them and say, hey, this is really how you should be telling your story. They record that video. So that's one video. The second video is after they go through literal career discovery. So they actually are able to dive deep into the different career paths that are out there, and it's not necessarily industry specific. It's more function specific, right? So like business development, right? Business development in software, med device, manufacturing, it doesn't matter. It's all very similar. So they do biz dev, things like IT, HR, finance, operations, and they have to pick one based off the overview. And it's a deep overview. It's a lot of videos. They can learn as much as they want to learn. And then once they pick one, the second video is explaining why they picked it, right? So now a company that's going to potentially hire you is going to be able to hear exactly who you are. They're going to be able to hear exactly why you want to do what you want to do. And then every candidate has the option based off the pathway that they pick, because we teach them the skills that are relevant for that pathway, right? And they have the option of adding more videos to their profile about those skills, about what they know about those skills, about examples where they've used those skills. They can even upload presentations related to those skills. So now instead of saying, I know how to build a target list on your resume, you have a video that is 2 minutes of you saying like, this is how I think about building a target list as a business development professional. So that's what makes our profile different than a piece of paper, in my opinion.
I like that, like the video approach, because, well, for one, it humanizes the person who's actually speaking, but also just thinking, what was it? What do you think is your biggest weakness? Oh, if I had to say what my biggest weakness was, it would be that I sometimes work too hard. Too hard.
Always. Yeah.
I give far too much to the organization. Oh my gosh, I could make fun of the interview process forever.
All day. We could do a whole episode.
But also, it's not just video production, or I guess advanced resume creation. You actually do coaching,
Yes,
a course, like a curriculum, man. Can you
correct.
Walk me through what the process is like?
Yeah. So it's a combination of like online self-led training. So like the My Story video, as an example, they actually have training they can go through that like shows them like how to do a strong opening, how to be concise, but also impactful. Same thing on the skill videos. Like it's about a 25 to 30 minute course about examples of how you target if you're in sales, right? Like, and it's applicable across every industry, right? Because like, I know your background's in real estate, Aaron. Like, if you're a tenant broker and you have a certain type of space, you know that there are certain types of companies that are going to fit into that space. So like if you're going to fill that space, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to build a list of target, if you're a landlord, this would be if you're a landlord tenant, broker, you're going to build a list of ideal tenants for that space. So we teach that skill in the training. And then all the online self-led training is supported by group calls. So the candidates that sign up for our program can join a call. We have like 48 calls a week throughout the week for all different steps that you're in that they can join. They can hear other people's questions, and they get an expert who's like leading the call to answer any questions that they have as they go through the training. But the reason we do self-led is, one, everybody's really busy. There's no excuse not to get it done. And we also it's free. That's important call out. Like, it's free for veterans and it's free for athletes. We're not going to hand it to you. Like, nobody's going to give you anything in the professional world. And that starts with us. Like, if you want to get a job and you want to get an interview through us, then do the work and we will help you, but you have to do the work. So that's why we moved away from one-to-one coaching into this group setting, from like live training to self-led training. Is like we were doing too much hand-holding and then people were failing and we were wondering why. And it was pretty obvious to me. It was like, cause nobody holds your hand when you get into the real world, guys. Like, they need to do this. And if they're not going to do it, we shouldn't introduce them to companies. Like, it's pretty simple. And our success metrics have reflected, since we moved to this model, have reflected the quality of candidate that actually does the work getting through the program.
Do you help candidates help find them their sector or their particular career path, or is this something, because it obviously is one of the biggest difficulties, and I know one of the biggest hurdles for, at least for the service member, is translating, being like a killer into somebody who just goes around and smashes into the corporate world.
Right.
So is that part of it? I know you're not really a big advocate of the follow your passion kind of thing. Can you explain a little bit more about that?
Yeah. I listen, there's like 1% of jobs in the world that like kids in 6th grade talk about, like when they go to class and they say, what do you want to do someday? Right. Like, there's like astronauts and like professional athletes, and like there's nobody in 6th grade going in and being like, I want to be an accountant someday at a CPA firm, right? Like that's not how it works. And I'm exhibit A of that. My passion was hockey. I followed it till I was 25, and then I had to get a real job. And everybody's like, well, why don't you just work in hockey? You love hockey. I told, and ultimately it was like, because it doesn't align with my priorities in my personal life. Like I want to make a lot of money. I want to have flexibility. Like so to answer your other question, through the self-discovery, we force them to reflect on those things, because that's how you should choose your career, right? We get on the veteran side, we get a lot of like, I think I want to be in project management or logistics, right? And then you're like, why? Right? And the answer is like, well, that's what I did. And I got this PMP certification. And it's like, well, I'm sorry, but like, why? Like what about project management gives you what you want? And they almost consistently can't answer that question. But I can tell you, because I tripped and fell into tech and into sales, and I never thought I was going to be a sales guy, because I went to a great school and liberal arts education and blah, blah, blah. And my parents were salespeople, and my mom didn't even graduate from high school, and my dad didn't go to college. And I'm like, well, I don't need to be a salesperson. Like I went to school and I have a degree. And what I figured out pretty quickly is like, I wasn't passionate about it at the beginning, but the second I understood that it could give me what I wanted in my personal life, guess what happened? I got real passionate about it. And that meant that the harder I worked at it, the better I got at it, and the more passionate I got about it. And now, like, I think everybody should do sales at some point in their life, because I think it's the best education you can get from a business perspective. But the point is, I didn't follow my passion. I earned my passion. And I look at every successful person that I know in my life, and that's typically how it played out. Very few people I know are working in the thing that they thought they were going to work in when they were 12, 18, even 22 years old. So that's my perspective there. And that's how we help these folks reframe their career choice. It has to happen a lot with veterans. It also has to happen a lot with athletes, because athletes all want to work in the sport that they played their whole life. But then you go, okay, you can go work for the Celtics, but they're going to pay you $38,000 a year. Or you can go sell this cybersecurity software, which probably sounds pretty boring, but they're going to pay you $80,000 a year. Which job do you want? And all of a sudden they're pretty passionate about cybersecurity, right? So it's just trying to be like very rational and logical about their choice, Aaron, is how we try to help them.
I did not want to become one of those disabled veterans that just sat on the couch feeling sorry for himself. I've always loved being creative. My creative spark was in the kitchen. I loved making others happy with the food I've made. And with this business, I can share that with so many more people.
Order now at eodfudge.com. You mentioned earlier about what kids want to be when they grow up. The twins are 6 years old now, and they're just fighting over Halloween costumes. And when they were fighting over as human resources programs training manager. It's I can't convince one of them to do the marketing, CMO costume. Come on, guys. You take the cornflower blue tie, and the other one can, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know, yellow canary, and it's bright. I don't know. Anyways,
here's a Starbucks for both of you.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah, this is a great prop. Speaking of which, my wife likes to plant the Starbucks cups around the house, like just the melted ice at the bottom, as like she's planting seeds, like they're house plants or something. And all around the house, I just find them. Actually, they're like little landmines. As I'm looking for something on the table, I just bat them off because I don't know what's there. Anyways, fun times. You've said that discipline is the willingness to do what you don't want to do. Was that something you learned as an athlete? Was it just something you picked up from watching your folks? Where'd that come from?
Yeah, I think it was a combination of my parents and growing up in hockey. My dad was a high school hockey coach for over 30 years. He's in the Coaching Hall of Fame in Massachusetts. But, you know, his whole thing was very simple when we were probably, honestly, your twins' age. It was like, hey, we all loved hockey. And he's like, if you want to play in the NHL or you want to play college, here's what you have to do. You have to, you know, shoot 500 pucks a day. You have to lift weights. You have to do sprints. You have to stick handle in the driveway. Those things are not fun for an 8-year-old or a 10-year-old, right? You just want to play games. You just want to go play hide and seek with your friends. But my dad was honest with us. He's like, listen, you can go play hide and seek with your friends, but if you do that and you don't shoot pucks today, that's one more day that you're not closer to your goals. So if you want to achieve your goals, if those are really your goals, you have to do these things that aren't that fun. And I guess for me, because it was such a young age, like it became second nature. I don't think about the monotonous, mundane bullshit that you have to do in every job, because I know why I'm doing my job and I know what my goal is. So I just do the shit that I need to do. And that is discipline. And I think if you're not thoughtful about it, you can miss it. But that is like literally what it is. And I think I was very lucky to get those lessons early on.
It's about setting goals, right? And having that long view. Simple.
Yep.
You know, I got to do this to get, you know, do these things. They take these steps to get to from point A to point B. That's, you know, that cumulative effect. That's compounding. That's discipline. Might not be any fun, but it's just, you know, putting in the reps to get the effects, you know, to get the results you need. Beyond, I know you can have the sales background, but beyond sales, what rules are veterans finding success in through Shift Group? What are they having to do? Is it project management, operations, thought leadership, anything like that?
Yeah, operations seems to be like a really good, like one-to-one fit. You know, and that's not just like, you know, it's not necessarily like your non-degreed junior enlisted necessarily. Like they'd be better served starting in a function like sales where, you know, the only degree you need is a PhD, persistent, hungry, and driven. But we get a lot of, you know, especially with the GI Bill and, you know, things like that. We get a lot of like JMOs or E6 through E8s or even E9s that are higher degreed. They've run big organizations. They understand like inputs versus outputs and the big picture and like how the big picture gets down into the nitty gritty. And like, you know, running a company, that's really like such a critical skill that not a lot of people have. So we see a lot of success with veterans in strategy and operations. That's probably number 2 right behind sales.
Mm-hmm. You know, as one of the things I've noticed, especially being on the military side, having experienced it, is that a lot of times as service members, there might be tankers, infantrymen. You know, it's not something that it translates very well, you know, literally over to the civilian sector. But these guys, they train daily, so they're constantly practicing and learning new things. They cross train with other areas. They learn how to communicate really well. And there's all these soft skills and the harder skills also, but that make them excellent candidates for civilian sector jobs. What's like the biggest misconception or paradigm shift that you see like mistakes or, like I said, misconceptions that you find from athletes and veterans coming to you in the first place?
Well, I think on the candidate side, there's the biggest misconception I see. I call it mountaintop hopping, Aaron, meaning, you get these like really well decorated veterans who like did really impressive things, and they think that they can go right into like a large corporation at like a SVP / VP level right away. Right. And I see it not just with those types of veterans, but like, especially in the special operations community, right? Whether they're Green Berets or SEALs, or AFSOC, like these guys think they can step into like a Dell Computers, a Fortune 100, and take over a team of like 450 in the business world. And the way I and the same thing with professional athletes. It's like, you played in the NFL, so now you should be the VP of sales. And it's like, listen, man, like the way I talk to veterans about it is I'm like, would you take Tom Brady on a combat mission? Like right off the street, would you take him? And they're like, absolutely not. He doesn't know anything. I'm like, okay, you are Tom Brady. Like, you're a very special dude. Clearly, you're part of the 3% of the 1%. I get it. However, you need to climb the mountain. You have all the tools. You're going to climb the mountain faster than, Johnny Kegstand that, just graduated from college, no doubt. But you don't get to start at the top, just like you wouldn't bring Tom Brady in to your org. And then I use the same opposite with these like professional athletes where I say like, okay, like you're going out for a game tomorrow. You started a Navy SEAL at running back that's never played football. And they're like, no, of course not. I'm like, okay, so what makes you think you can be the fucking VP, dude? Right. So that's the biggest misconception on the candidate side. There's a lot of misconceptions also on the company side too that we have to manage, but those are the biggest ones on the candidate side.
Okay, what if I put my medals on my blazer? Can I get me a little further up the mountain?
A little further up the mountain, yeah.
I could wear like a just like a blue blazer or something, and my beret,
Yeah, the beret gets you to director level.
I'm instilling a saluting policy around the office. But that was, misconception number 2. You can't just grab somebody up by their collars, throw them against the wall, and say, "Hey, man, you're not putting the cover sheet on the TPS reports."
Right.
They don't appreciate that. That'll get a memo from HR.
Yeah. You do have to be. And by the way, it's the same, Aaron, as it's the same in a sports locker room. Like you've got to learn how to be a little bit more political internally at a corporation than you do in a team room in the military or a locker room in sports. You can't start mother effing people. Yes, diplomatic is the right word. Yes.
I learned. I actually learned a lot of that from the Afghans when I was on deployment. Man, they are really good at saying words and not, speaking without saying anything.
Right.
Did you agree with me or did you not? Are you or are you not, in fact, the enemy? After you've gotten this mindset shift, I don't know, I like the word all that much. It gets overused, but they've kind of right-sized the paradigm, right? Form of thinking, and they're ready to climb the mountain. I would believe that they're really good at getting up the mountain.
Yes,
faster,
much faster.
Are there other challenges that are unique to athletes and veterans that maybe they should be aware of or looking out for?
Yes, I think their expectation that everyone understands that what they did is special. I think guys like me and you get it. We know that it's special, but they have to remind themselves, and this is why we teach them how to, because when you're a team first person, which you always are in the military, and for most sports, you're also a team first person, it's hard to talk about yourself. You're taught to always talk about everybody else. And we have to do a really good job of getting them comfortable. We call it in hockey, the term is pumping your own tires. You have to learn how to talk about your experiences in a way that shows how special you are. I just had a guy yesterday on one of my group calls. He's a former Marine. He got out of active duty last year, and he's been fighting wildfires in California. And he asked me, he's like, hey, there's really nothing on my resume the last 3 months because I've been doing 1099 work, fighting wildfires. Mm-hmm. Is there a professional way for me to bring that up in a interview? And I was like, tell them what you've been doing for the last 3 months, dude, because that is badass. And he didn't appreciate that, the fact that he's running into a fire when everybody else is running out, that makes him special. And he's interviewing for a entry-level sales job where he's going to be cold calling. And the biggest problem this company has that he's going to go interview at is that 23-year-old kids are afraid to call strangers. And I said to him, I'm like, are you afraid to call strangers? His name's Caden. I'm like, are you afraid to call strangers? He's like, no, dude, I run into fires. I'm like, say that in the interview. Please say that in the interview, right? They don't know how special they are, Aaron. That's the hardest part, the biggest misconception that we have.
If while calling strangers is my office on fire?
Sometimes, depends on the company.
Nope. Then we're good. We're good. No. That's a great example. That's one of those things about service. When everybody else is losing their heads, losing their minds about day-to-day problems, I'm like, nobody's trying to blow me up here. So
we're good.
I don't know. We can handle this.
Yeah. The CRM's down. I think we're going to be okay, guys. Don't worry.
You have any success stories, like a case study that exemplifies this transition from athlete to the office or veteran? Yeah.
We have a guy. He was an E9 Sergeant Major, Aaron, in 5th Special Forces Group. He's a Green Beret. Had his degree, had a master's. When he found our company, he had already interviewed at 42 companies. He was trying to get into sales, tech sales. And the issue he kept running into was one, his resume, not coming to the top of the pile, which you and I know, you see something like that and about the military, that guy, you're all over that guy. But it's 24-year-old liberal arts majors in HR that are seeing that resume and they don't see the right keywords. So they're next. But then he's getting into the interviews with the people that he did get past. And they're no, you can't, we don't think you can do this job because you've never used Salesforce.com before. And it's dude, he flew a multi-million-dollar drone in a combat zone and trained, you said, trained Afghans and brought them over to our side to help us. I think he can sell your fucking stupid vertical software that costs $2,000 a month. I think he's going to be okay. Right. So we went through our program. We got him to a company that appreciates his background because the companies are the ones who fund our business. They pay so they can hire people like this dude. And he went in and like literally, Aaron, 3 months later, he was the manager that was interviewing our kids. Like, and I got like 15 stories like that where we always find these people who are struggling in the job market, especially nowadays, because the job market sucks right now. And because they come through the program, but more importantly, because they get connected with people that actually get who they are and they go into environments where the culture aligns with them, they find success so quickly and they end up becoming like the people who are making the decisions on who they're going to hire. And guess who they're hiring from? It's us, because they went through our program. So it's kind of like this self-fulfilling prophecy. When I think of like the best success stories, all of them sound a lot like that.
Well, your example of the Green Beret, I've had Colonel Scott Mann, who on the show in the past, and yeah, he's the guy who was a guest, formerly a guest on Mike Rowe's show. And I don't know if you heard the story about that. He like just kind of did one of those Jedi mind trick things where he just told him he was going to write the foreword for his book. I am going to write the foreword for your book. I don't know what part of the training those Green Berets get that Jedi mind trick stuff, but I believe it.
It works.
3 months later, he's like running the business. I will take the corner office.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's one of those things where it's like those soft skills, right?
Yes.
And the hard skills. You literally, if you can drop into a jungle or a desert, start speaking the people's language and learning their customs and start fighting their enemies with them and training them how to do it. Well, you can drop a guy into an office setting, and if he's willing and disciplined and, determined enough, learn how learn how the CRM works and the in-house communication systems, intranet works. Yeah, we'll figure that out. But that's a great example. So what's next on the horizon? What are you most excited for when it comes to the Shift Group or yourself? What are you kicking off the sheets for lately?
Yeah, so we built the business, Aaron, for the last like 3 or so years in a staffing and recruiting model where we were charging, a percent of base salary for every hire. And in that model, we helped probably about 2,500 athletes and veterans. But we are transitioning now to a software pricing model, meaning companies now are just paying a flat fee. They get access to our new platform that we just launched, and they can search and hire as many candidates as they want for like one low monthly fee. And the reason I'm excited about it is we're going to take a step back for a little while on revenue. We'll catch up. But we're going to be able to help a lot more people and a lot more companies in this model. And that's what's really getting me out of bed every morning. I'm super excited because we're lucky. We have a company where we get mission and margin. And there's obviously a lot of great mission-oriented organizations out there, but because we're not a 501c3, where we have to drive outcomes for the people that go through our program and the companies that work with us. And that means that we're going to be driving outcomes for a lot of people that need those outcomes. So that's what I'm really excited about on the horizon.
For service members, and I guess also athletes who know that they're coming to the end of that career cycle, that phase, and looking to transition. What's the smartest way for them to start preparing, or maybe smartest way to use your program ahead of time?
Yeah, they can sign up, like you said, sign up for our program, Shift Group. But if even if it isn't Shift Group, the work I think you need to do in any transition, Aaron, right? Which life is just a series of transitions. You go from single to married, you go from a couple to a couple with kids, you go from working at this company to working at that company, you go from, having a loved one to losing a loved one, whatever it is, your life just is you're just constantly transitioning into new things. I think best practices look a lot like our process, meaning a reflection on the experience and how it shaped you, the ability to communicate how it shaped you, and the ability to really understand where you want to go next and why, and be able to talk about it to a complete stranger. So my advice to anybody going through that transition is to start with that reflection and then to start thinking about the vision and like living in it. Like really, really, what do you want your life to look like in 3 years? And if you paint a clear enough picture, then you can really be thoughtful about your decision on what's next, because it should align with where you want to go. But you can't go if you don't know the address. You're probably not going to get there. So like you need to figure out where you want to go first. And that's why I think reflection is number one. They have to do it, whether it's with us or not. Reflect.
I was like, Cameron, how vivid vision.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one for really, really getting microscopic with the 3-5 year vision, right? Get down to the emotions and smell of what's going to happen when you wake up 3 years from now.
Yes.
And I think it's a great place to transition into our final segment. I love it. Countdown to Impact. This is 3 books, 2 quotes, and 1 person who have all made an impact in your life.
All right. 3 books are To Sell is Human, The Qualified Sales Leader, and The Power of One, which is Irving, who wrote Cider House Rules. Power of One is a boxing book. It's awesome, about South Africa. 2 quotes. 1 is tattooed on my rib cage. It says, "How you do anything is how you do everything." It's my reminder that, you got to make your bed in the morning, because that's kind of the start, right? Like that's however you approach whatever. If your car's a mess, everything else is a mess. So like act accordingly. The other quote is be an arrow. It just means like, an arrow to be shot forward, an arrow needs to be pulled back. And, when you're going through hard shit, you got to stay focused, look ahead, and get ready, because you're about to be shot into something great. And the person who impacted me the most, she recently passed away a couple weeks ago from brain cancer, is my mom. Number 1. Not even close. She was a very, very special woman.
That's terrific. And I love those book recommendations. We'll get those all into the show notes too. All right, final questions. 1 is if somebody wants to reach out, find out more, and continue this conversation with you directly, where do they go? Our website, shiftgroup.io, very simple to sign up as a candidate. And if you want to connect with me directly, my only social media channel really is LinkedIn. So JR Butler on LinkedIn. Reach out. I'm happy to take a call with anybody. All right. Is there anything that I haven't asked yet that I should have? No. You're a great interviewer, Aaron. Thank you very much for having me. Oh, I'm glad to have you here. And final question. What does living a life of impact mean to you? It means to give is to get, right? You understand like a life of service. And I think I also believe that people don't remember what you say. They remember how you make them feel. And when I meet anybody new or connect with anybody, I always want to understand how I can help them. And I think if you live like that, you're going to get way more in return than you give. That's what a life of impact looks like to me. Terrific. Well, thank you very much, JR. I really appreciate you sharing your time and your experience and what you're doing for our veterans after service. Thank you.
Thank you.